Hey everybody, this is Nate Smoyer, and you're listening to the Tech Nest Podcast. This is the show where we sit down with the leaders in real estate and technology to find out what they're doing to transform the way we buy, sell, and invest in real estate. If you've got an interest in real estate and technology, stick around. You're in the right place.
Okay, we got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the vacation rental market, something that we don't get a whole lot into very often. We've had a few guests talk about this market, but this is really interesting because it's going to include both property management companies, it's going to include real estate agents, and the investor side. We've got Wes Walker. He's a founder of a company called Propersum, and right from their website, discover vacation homes for sale with reliable rental figures from local experts. Now, what does that really mean? There's plenty of marketplaces out there you can find rental homes for sale, or you can find rental homes to purchase. You know, you could just go straight to Airbnb and try and find rental homes. But how do you know the figures? How do you know the numbers? Like how much it actually produces in rent? Was that a fluke up year? The costs operating, and that's the brilliance of what comes in with Propersum. Propersum, what they do is they leverage the real estate agent to manage the relationship with the buyer. And then they pull in property management companies. And we talk about the actual business model, how this works. They pull in property management companies and they give blind bids on what they think that property can actually generate and what it costs to manage. And so then the buyer is getting 3 different bids on, hey, what's this property going to cost to manage? And what's it going to generate from 3 separate companies who don't get a chance to talk to each other about that. And it gives a much clearer picture of, hey, is this a good buy or not? We also get into other things, about the difficulties of verifying some numbers and how this model is supposed to work. And this really amplifies things, as well as towards the end of the show, we talk about funding, some philosophy behind that, and the unique angle that Wes has taken to getting this company up off the ground. It's a fun episode here, and I think you guys will enjoy this one. It's good to get some more of the vacation rental property market on the show. So listen in. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, Nate? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing fantastic. I got out for a bike ride already. It feels warmer outside. It's finally no longer winter, even though it's 40 degrees. But I'll take it because there's sunshine.
We've had it opposite in California. During the entire work week, it's been beautiful and sunny. And then on the weekends, we get a nice overcast at 55. So it's still a pretty Saturday, but it's we're ready for it to reverse. We're ready for the sun to be out on the weekends here.
I hear you.
Especially with the lock-in.
Well, let's kick this show off correctly here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, let everyone know who you are and what you do.
Sure. So my name's Wes Walker. I am the co-founder and CEO of Propersum. Propersum is an online marketplace of vacation rental homes that are for sale, where buyers can find the best properties with reliable rental financials from local and market experts.
All right. So a lot to unpack there. We have a lot to go into. Definitely, I want to take some of this show to talk about your background, why you're the guy for this, and understand, the angle you're coming from. Before we get into all that, can you please go ahead and boil it down? If you had to summarize the problem you're looking to solve, what is the problem? What's that big problem you're attempting to solve?
Sure. So most people are familiar with renting a vacation home now, thanks to Airbnb. But there isn't a solution for finding one to buy. And anyone that's experienced research or in-market viewings of homes, it's very difficult to collect the rental financials in a comprehensive and transparent way. So you have to ask an agent, and then you ask a lot of local managers. And it's a lot of groundwork, and it's a slow process and very difficult for people to do while they're typically on vacation. Also, for real estate agents, they often only have a week to build a relationship and deliver confidence to a buyer that they just met in market. And it's very hard to sell $1 million vacation home in a week and do all those things in one piece.
Why is it only a week? What is there that's happening in that week time?
Yeah, so the vacation home is kind of a unique asset class. There's rational desire about making a long-term investment, but the real inspiration is emotional. People buy them for emotional needs, for their family, for escaping a work environment for a while, for resetting. And when they're in town and in market and on a vacation somewhere in a certain destination, that's when they're ready. That's their emotional state when they're like, my family's here, we're having an amazing time. This is what life's all about. We need this.
Mm-hmm.
And that changes as soon as they get home. So it's back to the grind, back to the work, back to the status quo. And there's no time for vacation thoughts until the next year. So that it's sales agents and real estate's already a hard job. But when you're selling a vacation home and you have no pre-existing relationship with a buyer, you only have a handful of days to really build it quickly. And Propersum is a tool that helps accelerate that sales process by providing some confidence and rental financials to their buyer.
Got it. Okay, so before we go into then all the details of Propersum, because I want to walk through how it works and all that. What was it that led you to starting this? I mean, because this is the thing I always love to understand in prop tech. Like, you typically have to either come from the tech side with some understanding of real estate, or you came from the real side and then you had to make your way into the tech side. So what was it that drove you to, starting Propersum? And even when did you guys start?
Sure. So I was always a hobbyist as a kid. I took things apart and tried to put them back together, often with a 30% success rate. And the journey through vacation real estate happened more than 20 years ago. My family started a brokerage, a real estate and rental brokerage on the Carolina coast. And I was folding towels as a 14-year-old, working for my family, probably getting underpaid at that time. And over the course of those years, I worked as a property inspector, became part of the marketing and sales team. I was an account manager. I was customer service. I really touched on every single aspect of this, and everyone in my family was in real estate. My uncles, my dad, my mom, we have brokers. And so it was a real estate dinner table conversation every night. And ultimately, in 2016, I was recruited by a national vacation rental management company, Turnkey Vacation Rentals, to open a number of markets in California. And I moved out to California in 2017 with my now wife. And we simultaneously launched multiple markets completely green and filled in a few existing markets that needed to grow as Turnkey was expanding its portfolio. And there was an important discovery during this process is some of the problems that exist in a boutique style vacation management office as far as sales and growth also exist in large, 5,000 property management programs. And that is that acquiring new inventory is extremely expensive and time consuming. The average cost is about 10 grand to get a new rental property on your program.
Is that just vacation, or that's in general?
That's for vacation rental properties. Okay. That's how much it costs in time and money and mailers and meetings for a management company to bring on one new property. It's kind of crazy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I think we talked about this in the pre-show, but basically it's kind of like, well, if someone has a vacation property that they're going to hire a manager for, once they get one, why would they change? So you got to get them in like these short windows.
That's a very insightful comment. Most of the time, the best and most effective way to acquire a new account is upon purchase or upon sale of the property, where there's a lot of change. It's also a reason why the current economic environment is interesting, because there's a lot of change that's happening. But ultimately, once someone kind of decides on the fit for them and the relationship for management, they stick there, and it takes a lot to unwind that relationship. So that's another one of the inspirations, is I realized instead of trying to trade properties with other management companies, we need to help the agent sell it first, and then we can manage it. And that was part of the inspiration behind Propersum.
Got it. Okay, so let's talk through this then. Let's say I went on the Propersum website, wanted to see like some of the areas you were operating in, and you got the Great Smoky Mountains. Love it. Mm-hmm. I have been to the Smokies. I've been to Gatlinburg, camped out that way. There's actually this, I got to tell you this. There's this tiny little town called Cookeville. It's Cookeville.
Okay.
I was thinking Danville, Virginia for some reason.
Right.
Cookeville, Tennessee has this tiny little donut shop called Ralph's. And it's got like the big plastic Coca-Cola sign that says Ralph's. Because everything's Coca-Cola or Pepsi branded in the South.
Right.
They got the old diner, and man, it is the best. They have these honey glazed donuts. They're honey twists. Amazing. But anyway, all right, we got the Great Smoky Mountains. Okay, so I'm an investor in Chicago. I want to buy in the Smoky Mountains. You're a real estate agent who works the Smokies, the Gatlinburg rental market. Walk me through where Propersum comes in and how this all works.
Yeah, so it's a great scenario question. If you do have an existing relationship in market, which may or may not exist, but if you do, and you start asking the agent about listings in market, prior to our company, the agent would have to go out and randomly collect numbers from individual management companies.
Yep.
On a single use basis, and it takes a long amount of time.
Yeah.
Now with Propersum, agents in market, and this is important, buyers agents don't pay for access to our platform. It's free. So they can compile a list of properties that have a fit within a certain range for that particular investor buyer, and then they share a catalog they've created with them with the investor buyer, who then goes on and explores the individual properties and the proposals that managers have posted on those properties.
Okay, so then you have access to Propersum, because I called you up. I'm like, hey, I saw this rental property, and you're like, Nate, that's a great eye. That one actually just went under contract. Would you like me to send you other properties that are off market? And of course, I'm an investor. I'm like, Wes, that sounds amazing. Yeah. Send me all what you got. So then you can take my rental criteria. I'm like, I want 6-bedroom because I like having 10 people, sleeping in 6-bedroom rentals. I like those rates. And I want a hot tub, and I want a balcony, and I want a view of the mountains.
That's right.
And so then do you search through Propersum? Is that, and then it pulls up an inventory, or you're able to, how does that gather the inventory to be able to send me that data?
Yeah. So one thing that was very important, and we haven't talked about the company's timeline yet, is, and this is a little bit about experience and coming up with ideas. We did not try and duplicate things that already exist. So listing sites that have information and the amenities, I feel like a lot of companies are incremental in the products that they're creating, and we wanted to create what was the exponential piece missing first, the most important. So the rental proposals from local managers are the missing piece of the puzzle right now, and they're one of the most important pieces. We do not yet add features and some of the property individual characteristics. That will come later on later development cycles as an incremental improvement. But ultimately, you can do filters. What's the total price of the property, list price, bedroom count, bathroom count, location, area? Compiles the results, and then you can go in and individually explore the financials on a simplified P&L of rent and income and expenses, and see what the performance is for each year based on what you put down.
Yeah, and does Propersum go through in verifying that, or is there?
So this is the secret. This is the secret of the process. Before our company, there was no way to validate the information that you're getting from this agent or this random management company. You don't.
Right. I mean, I would want to see the tax forms. That's what I would ask for. It's like, yeah, that's fine. Just show me your tax forms.
And the interesting kind of side note is that investor personalities and buyers are very different than the casual leisure buyers. But one thing that is true is that the trust of the source of information was a major problem before our company. So we created a process that does a couple things. It creates a blind bidding proposal process for the managers. So managers go under, let me start kind of with how the system's set up.
Yeah.
Managers go, instead of buyers picking properties, agents finding managers providing single proposals. We've foundationally and fundamentally changed this process where managers start off, go in and select the properties that they want, and they put in proposals on how much they believe it would produce in gross rents based on their market expertise and knowledge, and what they would charge for a commission to service the property on behalf of the homeowner. And what this does is it helps them target properties in an affordable way. But the real kind of aha moment is that these proposals are blind until they post publicly. So what happens is a buyer gets to see multiple proposals from different experts in, say, Gatlinburg. And they immediately post and they see, wow, management company A says 100,000 in gross rent. Management company B says 105,000 in gross rent. Management company C says 98. And what that says to a buyer very quickly is this property is going to make $100,000 a year. There's three experts that have all blindly agreed. So we created this. Yeah. The other part to help protect the investor and the quality of the information is because it's a double blind process. A manager is incentivized to be within a reasonable range of their competitors, because if they're way out in left field, like, oh, it's going to do 200, it makes them look underprofessional or inexperienced.
Gotcha. So it already lines up the management companies to be a little bit conservative,
right?
Likely. It it is in some sense a CMA, but it's in a blind, a comparative market analysis, but it's blind for everyone to compare how they're evaluating. And then you're doing the work that the real estate agent
doesn't want to do,
or might not know how to do.
Right. That's right.
I mean, and I'm not being insulting here, but if your job is, helping, whether it's consumers, investors, or these, we got to come up with like a good word for those who buy leisure and investment, like
leisure buyers, or like athleisure wear or something like
that.
Yeah. Buyer. We'll work on that. Okay.
Leisure investment. I don't know. That's what I was trying to come up with, right? So
I imagine a new brand already.
There's a new brand coming out of this. Stick around. I got more bad ideas coming. So the agent, though, may not be best equipped genuinely to do that. Like, they're knowing what things buy and sell for, but they don't necessarily know the operating costs because that's not their focus. So they see Propersum as this assistant that comes along. Basically, it's this piece of tech that they get to leverage. It ties the relationships back with the management companies. They're adding way more value than they could have previously to the potential buyer who's looking at the vacation property, either as leisure or strictly financial investment. And now the buyer's next step is to purchase.
That's exactly right. This is the incentives of all of the participants are now aligned, and they're done in a way that protect each of them, but also still are able to share information in a useful way. That's exactly right.
Now I'm going to hit you with the Congress question here.
Sure.
But how do you make money on a product that's free?
So this is what took a long time to think through and understand. You'll see some data scraping sites which are that are known for not being accurate for individual properties because they're not commodities. They're charging investors to access this information.
Sure. I get their emails all the time.
Yeah, and I don't know which one you're describing because there's a couple of them out there, but there's a fundamental misunderstanding is that investors buy properties every once in a while, not every day, not every week. Managers are in the daily business every day, and real estate agents are in the daily business every day. And we originally were thinking about, we should charge investors for this, but they're an important conduit and the oil that works this machine, and we want them on as frequently and as much as possible. So instead, we said, you know what? Managers need a solution that's affordable and infinitely faster. So we'll charge managers a flat annual fee to do this per area. So if you're typically spending 10 grand per property and you're signing 8 properties a year, it's going to cost you anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000 to grow your inventory.
Wow.
We charge $2,500 flat fee, sign as many properties as you want. On the other side, real estate agents, their brokerages are paying as much as 3 or 4% to bring new buyers to the table. And although we're not replacing that piece, it does show the amount of value for delivering some confidence and delivering buyers to their listing environment. So we charge brokerages a flat fixed cost annual fee, the same one. It's about $2,500, and they can add up to 250 listings a year. So, basically pennies on the ability to expedite a sale process and deliver confidence. So our customers are listing agencies or individual agents and management companies looking to drive new business. And we give this access away for free to any buyer, investor, researcher, or any buyer's agent who's helping their client and wants to share the information that's on the platform.
Got it. This is actually brilliant. I'm going to use the whiteboard. I've never done this.
Okay, let's whiteboard. Yeah.
No one's watching, but we're going to whiteboard live.
All right.
All right. This should be a new thing I do.
A new segment.
So we got the buyer.
The invisible whiteboard.
Right. We got the buyer who's dead center. That's kind of small, but I think we can make it out. Okay. So they talk to the agent, right? And the agent is like, I want to help you with that. Man, I don't know how to do this property management, vacation rental stuff, but that's a $800,000 property. What's a 4 or let's even be conservative. Let's say a 2% commission, right? 800,000. Because in some markets they've really compressed.
And 2% may be the final agent commission after brokerage cut in a luxury market. That sounds right.
So we're looking at a $16,000 commission on an $16,000 rental property. It's a
Right.
good one. That's my 6-bedroom that can sleep 10. That's
right.
what I'm looking for, right?
Right.
All right, here we go. So we got the agent. They're looking at a $16,000 commission. They're like, I got to get that. I want this sale. And this buyer showed proof of funds, and they're good. So I'm gonna go get me some Propersum.
That's right.
They'll fork out the money. They got it for the whole year now. They're gonna work that buyer. They've built up good rapport. But I like the fact is that now what it does is you got Propersum over here and through the agent, and it pulls property management 1, 2, and 3 into the business. Is that how that's functioning?
That's a brilliant way of describing it, and that's exactly, this was part of the learning process for us, is that we realized when we started putting managers' faces on individual properties, the pull effect for their competitors was enormous. Not only were they posting their rental production publicly, but they were saying to their whole community, we're not afraid to be transparent about our operation, we're worth this price. And then their competitors call and say, or email us, and they're like, okay, well, how do we sign up for this? How do we do it too? So there's a tremendous pull effect, not only for the information, but also for our sales team.
Yeah.
When managers start posting publicly in their environment or in other markets. And then to add to that, what you're describing about agents introducing buyers into the ecosystem, because we have no incentive to participate with the buyer. That's not our customer.
Yeah.
It's protected in that way, and we're not trying to be a broker in the process. We have no interest in that. So the agents aren't afraid to share this, and they have a push effect to add new market users. So what you're starting is the very basic pieces of the network effect that's inherently built into the platform.
Yeah. How many vacation rental markets do you have that you could go after that would make sense?
Yeah, so we're first focusing on the legacy drive-through destination markets, the one with really mature regulatory environments that are historic. They've made through 10 recessions, and buyers are buying them mostly emotionally, and there's lots of managers and agents that are servicing that market.
So California.
Well, here's some of the timeline. I'll kind of jump into this quickly. We incorporated the early part of last year. In the spring, we built some test products and ran them by some agents and managers. Great feedback. In summer, we raised our pre-seed in 90 days. In fall, we started right after the summer, we built our minimum viable product. And by December, like less than 90 days, we launched live in Park City, Utah. So what the thought process is on the timeline is that Park City is a hyper luxury destination market. It's not very cash efficient, but it's very cool. I mean, it's a great place to go on vacation.
I love the picture on the website. I want to go there.
Right. And we thought if this financial transparency tool works in a cash inefficient market, then it will work anywhere. So we launched in Park City in December, and within the first 100 days, we were in 19 US cities with paying customer companies using Propersum. So we're all over like coast to coast at this point, and we're going to keep expanding out to these luxury destination markets because the demand is there and the need is there. And I think, interestingly enough, although investing is a funny topic right now, people are, in all the panic and stress, they're reprioritizing what's important to them.
Sure.
And it is time with their family. It is time. It is escapism. It is change. And they're going to start going on vacation in droves come the end of the summer and early fall.
I think it's I think my really real hope, and not to date this episode too much, but my real big hope is that we figure this thing out quick. We get people back to work as quick as possible, but as safely as possible, so that people don't dig themselves too big a hole. But when we do get back to work, I think people are ready.
Yeah,
they are ready to go do something. Like
it's
40 degrees out and it's sunny, but it's 40 degrees out and people are walking around like it's summertime right now. They ain't got nothing else to do. They finally went for a walk. Like we see kids playing kickball in our courtyard.
It does kind of,
what
it
happened
rings
there?
A bell from
kids
like back in the 80s. I know kids are playing outside again. It's really kind of bizarre what's happening. But it's good. It's and I don't want to discredit the fear and the anguish and the people that are losing and are in trouble financially right now, but these downturns, they kick the beehive and they make us all look at our professional lives in process and our business lives in process and maybe even our familial lives in process and say, what have I been autopiloting and I need to spend some time on? What have I been missing? What have I been ignoring? And let's kind of look at it and work closely at that. So I think that There's tremendous opportunity in the next, if you look past 36 days and you look at 36 weeks or even 36 months, there's tremendous opportunity for those that are trying to provide actual genuine solutions that fit into this time period where people are trying to repurpose and reorganize and fix the things that they may have ignored for a while.
Yeah, totally. One of the things I have is almost like a running joke at Avail. It's not really a joke, but it's just one of the things like I've made it my thing. I don't know, in our random Slack channel is I like to post trends of new words that are catching on. So if you look up like unprecedented and amid,
I've heard you talk about this.
Yeah, like
this on the show. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so right now, how to bake bread,
right,
like
right.
skyrocketing.
Right.
You know, bread machines are outselling like everything else that people should be buying right now, but they're outselling. Like it's just crazy. And this is, we really are in a time where patterns will change in dramatic fashions.
Right.
People looking to pay rent online. I mean, of course, I'm going to know a little bit about this. The search has never, in the last 12 months, hasn't been higher since like in the last 30 days. It's been the highest it's been. So Google will put it on a scale of like 0 to 100 as far as level of interest. And it's at 100. People looking to pay their rent online.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And so anyway, well, let's keep it moving here. So we've already kind of dissected this. We know who uses Propersum. So it's the agent first, introduces it to the buyer, pulls in the property management companies. It helps build that together. So I want to know though, is it the agents, the individual agents, or is it the brokerages that are the key to traction there?
Sure. So some of this has to do with the market and the timing. So right now it's very easy to contact brokers because they need solutions. They're concerned about 6 to 9 month sales cycles and what people are going to be doing.
Yeah.
Before everything kind of went crazy, agents are very difficult to talk to about software products because they're inundated and everybody's a disruptor and everybody's trying to claim that they're this exponential difference.
The last thing they want is another tool. They just want to close the deal.
And that was an important part of the discovery process last spring when we were testing products, is that if agents have to spend any more than 15 seconds on it, it's a dangerous product to build because it's going to be hard to sell. So
totally.
This is why we designed it in a way where the agents there's no onboard, there's no listing loads. We do all of that and we pre-collect from all the managers without the agents having to do anything. So as soon as they want it and want to distribute it, they just pull it up and share it with their client and it's done. So the sales process to get started in an individual market when we launch is we'll contact a few agents and say, hey, we've already done the legwork. Do you want us to post it publicly and spread it across our platform? And they're always like, sure. But when we want to start filling out the paid subscriptions that we're not giving away, that's when we go to the brokers and say, hey, like instead of thinking about 3% is the only way you can get new buyers, we'll load up all of your listings for your team so that they distribute out to our buyer network and buyer agent network and we typically discount it, Nate. So we'll give them a discount when it's new in market to help kind of incentivize it. And it ends up being a few $1,000 you can pay that in a photography shoot for a really big house. So that's the other reason is we wanted to design something that the price point was exponentially better than what's happening in their market and for products that they're buying. So long version of the answer is brokers are more efficient, but individual agents are where we start.
And I'm sure you're getting some friction on this, but a lot of products, especially when selling to real estate agents, try to do, hey, well, you only pay at closing or pay per deal, right? Because agents don't want, and it's understandable. Their businesses are historically very roller coaster looking like.
Yeah.
They've got 4 deals under contract and all lead prospecting shuts down because they've got to focus on closing. Well, I had an agent used to describe it as like a little egg. He's like, you take care of that little egg. You hold it and it's fragile, So having any sort of fixed expense feels scary. How are you getting past that point of friction?
So the cost to an individual agent is not $2,500.
Okay, so that's the broker.
That's the broker.
I see.
An agent can use it for up to 10 listings for a couple $100.
Oh, okay.
And that's a listing agent. And by the way, like typically there's, when there's a listing agent in a vacation rental market, they typically are the listing agent. They carry like 40% of the listings and they've been doing it for 15 years and they're on the benches and in the magazines and they're the big ballers.
Yeah.
He's and she's. And So we also created the product to be free for buyer's agents because we didn't want to discourage their use of the environment, to say, hey, like, we know that you need tools too to help build your business and build your book. So here, use it for free. This benefits us because we get content from the managers and the listing agents pay to use it.
Got it. That helps a lot. So, and then you've already described some of the markets you listed Park City, but can you describe some of the other markets? You said 19 is what you're in already?
So we kind of use two different terms. We use destinations, which are general areas, and then there's individual cities.
Okay.
So, Great Smoky Mountains is 3 or 4 cities. Park City is a destination in a city. It's kind of like Australia, right? So it's a country and a continent.
Did you just describe an entire continent as like Park City, Utah?
Yeah, that's right. It you know what? If you've been to Park City or Salt Lake City, it is kind of its own country in many ways. It's a very unique place. It's a beautiful place.
Haven't been there yet.
It's awesome. It's really, it's like nothing you've ever seen. That's, I think, one of my favorite parts about real estate and with travel and management, is you get to see all these parts of the country, and this country is incredible. Every time you think you've seen the next big and crazy thing that you would have never imagined to be within our borders, you find another one. It's like a different culture or a different example of how people like to live their life. It's a really kind of cool part to the American real estate travel environment.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
So I digress. Anyway, there in destinations, there's numbers of cities in most cases. Charleston has Folly Beach, Isle of Palms, Key West, Seabrook, and Outer Banks, Southern Shores, Kill Devil Hill, Nag's Head. So there's a number of cities in each. But you'll find that managers often will specialize in 1 or 2 cities, not a whole market.
Got it. And it makes a lot of sense, obviously, to have some diversification there and a little bit of room to work with. You guys have been moving lightning fast, and so you've only been up and running for a very short period of time. But invariably, the world is, anybody starting a new business and going in, especially I think in prop tech, there's so much nuance. There's so much into the cycle. And if you're reinventing how things are done, man, that just introduces friction. What are some of the challenges you've bumped up against to get where you're at currently, and how did you overcome them?
Sure. So I think the best one to acknowledge is so small business owners, startup founders, podcast hosts tend to be obsessive people. Like they love information, they love talking to people, they love new ideas. And that can be distracting to the mission at hand, the primary mission in some ways. And our customers are already sending us like ideas about things that they would love to see on it and new feature sets and all these different things. So that's one of the challenges, is trying to really engage the customers in a meaningful way and ask their feedback, but also be careful about how much time we invest in doing off cases and single shots of feature sets. So that's been an interesting first part, is the feedback we've received and the need to stay focused on what the immediate mission is this year, but also be considerate of what our customers want, because they're the ones that should be designing the business with enough data and enough feedback. So I'd say that's probably been the first challenge, is that every week somebody sends something like, hey, can you do this? Or can you guys create that? Or can you build that? So staying on task is the challenge.
There's no limit to the edge cases that exist in real estate.
Right, it's dangerous territory.
It is so challenging to build a tech product for real estate, because there's reasons that you'll hear it said, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong in real estate. And that's in every type of transaction. That's not limited to any one type. So designing a product that can stay focused and still serve those edge cases in a smart way without becoming bloated too fast is tough.
You're identifying some inspiration behind the simplification of our product from the first versions. We really pulled a lot out to try and avoid becoming involved in some of these use cases. And I think that it's important that the technology not try and replicate or replace things that don't need to be replaced, that need to be done hand to hand or by voice. So we try to stay very hyper focused on one thing.
What was some of the process that you used to pull things out? Like, did you just say, like, does this make money, or how many requests do we get for this? Or
yes, so we the actual process from the qualitative analysis is what will be the time invested for us to produce this? And will this impact be exponential or incremental?
Mhm.
So if it's going to take us 100 hours of programming time, what's going to be the return for our customer and for our business? Or if it's going to take us 2 hours, is it 2 hours of value back, or is it 2,000 hours of value back? So when you do product road mapping and product testing, you first find out what the users want, and then you kind of critically analyze, and you have to use some of your preconceived notions about what it could do to say, if out of this great list of 10 that I want all of, which one is really going to produce the highest growth rate, or the highest close rate, or the highest customer satisfaction rate, and which one's the most important? And that's that is very qualitative. It's not totally quantitative, and it's hard to prioritize, which is part of what the mention of how do we effectively deploy time to make sure that we're building the product the way that customers want, and that also helps our investors.
Yeah. Speaking of investors, let's talk about investments. It's pretty popular, especially in prop tech, talking about what you've raised and how much you've raised. So I'd love to hear from you. Have you gone through the process of raising funds? I think you actually mentioned you secured a seed round, and I would love to hear your take on how you plan on leveraging venture capital moving forward.
Sure.
And maybe you can share some of your experience. I know you have quite a few experiences with venture capital.
Sure. So there something that I learned along the way in the early part of the year. And so first of all, don't try and teach yourself everything. Find someone else that knows more than you about investment in venture capital, investment in angel, and investment in small business. Trying to learn it all yourself is, if you do that, then you can be a venture capitalist because you figured it all out, and it takes a lot of time. And that was one of the mistakes that I made, is I was trying to teach myself everything, and I needed to find people that were smarter than me and more experienced than me to help be good advisors and mentors. And I did so, and I got lucky in that way. And what I discovered is there's really kind of three pools to oversimplify this. You have a small business idea that's going to produce wealth for you as an individual, but there is an amount of valuation cap that it can reach. It can only be a certain size, either from scale or your own technical inability or your capital access or experience. So that's group one. There's group two, which I call the angel or syndicate category. And these guys are investing their own money. They want to see a turnaround of profit in a couple of years. They want to see, they need more evidence because they're putting their own money at risk. And this is kind of like, I hate to say Shark Tank because it's a reality TV show, but it's true. They get a bigger cut than they probably deserve because they're providing something you desperately need because you don't have any other way of raising it. Mm-hmm. However, they also can be dangerous if you don't know them, because you're inviting strangers into a controlling environment of your business. And that's a risk that you need to consider. By the way, anyone thinking of raising money needs to read Early Exits.
Early Exits?
Early Exits describes the difference between venture capital and angels. And it was a book I wish I read 2 years ago.
Oh, adding that to the list pronto.
That's a good one. And we competed in a pitch competition in Silicon Valley at the Twitter headquarters. And it was a recommendation by one of the panelists. Subsequently, I'll shelve humility for a moment. We won that competition, but the one of the panelists who was investor was like, I think you should read Early Exits so that you can have a better understanding of the difference between angel and venture capital motivations. So for the venture capital world, they're basically brokers of other people's money. They invest a bunch of money. They collect money from limited partners. They get a percentage of that for management, and they deploy it in different types of strategies and ways. And that's a whole nother educational process of selling and networking and understanding this group. And I would recommend reading Venture Deals. I think the last name on that's Feld. This is a highly recommended book in the venture community. It's written in plain English, and it's a book that I reread on a regular basis as a reminder. So those three categories are very different in how you raise money. The venture guys want to see you're crazy. They want to see you thinking of a $10 billion idea and able to formulate the plan to get there in a way that's kind of insane. The angel guys are like, I want my money back in 4 years. Show me how you're going to make a ton of profit now and sell this. And you're not trying to be Uber, and you're not trying to be WeWork, and you're not trying to be what other, giant IPO that seemed impossible but somehow happened. They're looking for a safer bet. So that's what I learned along the way. For our experience, and no matter what, it's important to know relationships are very important in the investment community. So you need referrals from other people that you know. And one of the things that we did with our fundraising process is that we wanted to show proof within the industry that this was a good idea. So we raised money from lenders, insurance providers, management professionals, real estate sales professionals, and vacation homeowners. And that group resulted in a very small portion of equity with a reasonable valuation, so that when we're trying to meet new investors that are looking for like the big next idea, we can say, we may not know each other, but here are 10 people that stand to gain from the existence of this marketplace, and they've voted not only on the founders, but they voted on this idea by investing.
Interesting.
So that was our strategy. The last thing I'll add before droning on for an hour is every great business has a great business plan, because it requires that you exercise the things you haven't thought of and notice your weak points and the things you've missed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to raise with other people's money, and you're going to raise capital, whether it's angel or VC, you need a financing plan. And the financing plan is it identifies how much valuation you expect in 2 years, in 6 years, in 7 years. And it seems nuts when you write it out. You're like, oh, we're going to be worth $500 million in 7 years. Or we're going to be worth 10. But if you're going to raise venture capital, they want to see that.
Yeah.
And they also want to see that you haven't oversold your company, where you only own 20%, because 10 years from now, when you've diluted it down, you're not going to care about it anymore. So there's this really fine balance of understanding the amount of equity you sell, the instruments that you use, who you plan to talk to next. And it's basically as insane as a business plan. It has to be as formulated. And you have to stick to it.
I'm so glad you're talking about the plans, because the only quote I know about plans is everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. I believe that was Mike Tyson. But this is we're now in a state of the economy where everyone has been punched in the mouth. We're finding out how good everyone's plan is. I appreciate all that background. I think that's a really smart move to not just try to go, who's going to fund my business, but who are the right people, especially early, that, have a direct stake in losing something here, but also like believe in this market. Like they are practitioners in the market, or they're in the market and they know it. Because that is a good vote of confidence to anyone else who maybe they've never been a part of anything with vacation rentals. So why would they enter that? And they're going to need that confidence. Like you're saying, like, okay, I see your big, your exponential chart. That's great. How do I know that's real?
Right.
How can I get behind that?
And you also want to take smart money. So money is great. Money can do lots of things. But there's also times where money it doesn't win necessarily. Google tried to create their own social network. They dumped billions of dollars on this thing. It didn't work.
Oh my gosh.
Because it just didn't line up correctly. So
it was a pain in the freaking butt to use. It was so hard. I actually tried it. I really tried, man. I sat once at my computer for probably 2 hours. I was trying to game it though. See, originally, to be able to give a Google Plus on a search result.
Right.
So I went through, I searched my name and anything I was associated with.
Right.
And I plussed everything.
That's right.
And then I was just like doing all this gaming and it went nowhere. I was like, this is stupid. I'm done.
I think Google Plus was kind of like the Nintendo 64. I put down all the consoles at that point. I was like, I can't do anymore. It's distractions for me. So actually, I don't participate on Twitter, Facebook, or Google Plus, which was a
I'll say this though, for those listening, I don't want to get into social media stuff, but Twitter is back. Twitter is hot. Twitter's the spot right now. It's so good. It's honestly so good. Once the algorithms work now, the suggestions of who to talk to and content that serves up, like Twitter's on point. So
good. That'll be somebody that we find that's a lover of social media and obsessed with it the same way that we are in real estate. We'll bring them in.
Yeah, there you go. You can find me on Twitter at Nate Smoyer at TechNest Podcast.
That's right. It's a shameless plug. Good.
Shameless plug. Hey. All right, well, let's move on here. I want to get to one of my favorite segments of the show. Wes, I believe you're familiar with this. We're going to play a game I like to call For the Future.
Sure.
The future is where I get to ask each guest who comes to the show to give their best predictions based on the following 4 questions. Wes, you ready to play?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, let's do this. Question number 1, what does Propersum look like 1 year from now?
Propersum is in 50 United States cities. 1 year from now, we've raised our next round, and we're beginning conversations about integration with lending and insurance.
Oh, all right. Nice and succinct. Question number 2, what will prop tech as an industry look like for a year from now?
So I think I just mentioned lending and insurance. I think that these kind of segments like prop tech, fintech, and insurtech are interwoven in a way that hasn't been realized yet, and they're probably going to be wrapped up, I think, in a very useful way. I also think that just like prop tech, every other X tech, there's a lot of bloat. And
I love that. Every other X tech.
Yeah, all the blank tech, everything that's something.
It's a category. You put tech behind it because you have a website. Let's call it good.
Right. I think a lot of the companies that are overvalued, overfunded, and underdeveloped are going to disappear. I think that there's been, we're wired to overreach, and venture capitalists are not immune from that. And that's the name of the game, is that some of it's luck and some of it's timing, and this has kind of changed. What's happened economically is changing some of those. So I think that there'll be some consolidation and a little bit of cleaning house for those that have maybe exposed themselves and taken on too much risk. Yeah.
All right. Question number 3. What's one industry trend you think will continue, but you wish would go away?
I've heard this question on your show. This is a good question.
Thank you.
So I have to be careful the way that I say this, but I think companies need to stop trying to scale relationships. And this applies in all software. It started off scaling process and improving it, and it became misunderstood as scaling relationships and automating a relationship. And I think that this is where real estate agents and managers and everyone that's in real estate technology environment gets frustrated, is that they don't want to be replaced. That can't happen.
Yep.
They want, instead of trying to scale the relationship, let's enhance the relationship. Let's amplify it.
I've had this discussion with Drew Myers quite a few times.
Awesome. Okay.
From Geek Estate, there's still very much like in real estate is a people business. And Jonathan Martis, who is the CEO, co-founder of a company called Cleared, just interviewed him. I think his show will be published before this one. So I think I'm saying this in the right order. But we talked about that as well. When his frustrations is just the way CRMs are used to manage relationships with buyers and customers. And, it's not true relationship management. So I can see this is actually a little bit of a pattern I have seen from others in the space of relationships still matter.
So if you think about the amount of technology that's been introduced to real estate in the last 10 years, what people don't know outside of the business is that the buyer's choice to use or seller's choice to use a real estate agent has also increased. So what was like in 60-70% 10 years ago is now in the 80s, 90s, I think, in the recent stats. So people are preferring the personal connection more than ever. And I think, if you're ordering food online, maybe you don't need to have a relationship. If you're going to the store to pick something up, you don't need to have a relationship. But when you're doing financial planning, asset management, you're going to the doctor, you're talking to your attorney, like, I don't want to use a chat bot. I want to talk to a person that trusts me, So I think it's, it could go into a whole segment about automation and scaling, but I would like to see companies stop scaling relationships, and I don't think we will see that in the near future.
All right. And the last one here, number 4, what's one thing you believe will dramatically change or fade away in real estate as a result of tech advances?
So this one may be a little controversial. I think that
That's okay. I don't have anyone to answer to on this show.
Okay, good. Hopefully our other professionals in real estate aren't upset by this, but I think the way that real estate brokerages, and I'm going to speak to general brokerages, not anything else. I think that the way that they use office space not only will change, but it has to change in order for them to survive. The brick and mortar model that's been around for 50 years will not be able to compete with some of the more flexible models. And I think the term remote work will just be called work in the near future. People don't need to sit in their own office in a room that's 45 minutes from their house.
Right.
They may need that sometimes, but not permanently and all the time. And I think that the use of commercial space for real estate, for general brokerages, is going to change dramatically. I think it's going to have to change.
All right, there it is. Wes, we're going to move on to the last three. Last three questions are more about you, so our listeners get to know you better.
Okay.
First one here. You've already given us 2 book recommendations, but would like to know, what are you currently reading?
Yeah, sure. So it's kind of like time slotting. I have business books, and then I force myself to read some personal books.
That's good.
For startup founders, a great book is 0 to 1.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's very well recommended. Peter Thiel's section about competition is for losers changed my understanding about business entirely. The second one is Tools for Titans, also a famous author, Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can just pop that one open and read
it. See it if I move my whiteboard.
Oh, you've got it. Oh, you've got the stack.
Yeah, you can see the stack. Yeah, it's somewhere. It's towards. I think it's on the other side of the stack there.
The dreaded stack.
I can keep a stack next to my recliner, so whatever I'm feeling, I can dig into it.
I'm the same way. I like to read a number of books at the same time. I have a short attention span, I guess. So that Tools for Titans is a great one to pop open and learn from other successful people about the little things and processes they've done.
Yeah.
So I'm a space nut, a commercial, consumer space nut. So Endurance by Scott Kelly, the autobiography about his time in space.
Oh, interesting.
It's written not like a scientist. You just realize that you don't have to be a superstar, brilliant Stanford graduate to be an astronaut. Scott Kelly came from a very American, regular family with a lot of at-home problems that he identifies. And it's an awesome story. It's written in real English by a real person. It's very cool. You also learn how oddly connected Russia and America are, even though they seem to be competitors and at odds in other ways. So, and the last one is Starship Troopers, which is sci-fi. Some nerdy. A little bit
of sci-fi. All right, there we go. Mixing it up. Question number 2: who are you learning from?
I mentioned this earlier. Our investors, the professionals in the business, are a wealth of knowledge, and they cover every corner of the real estate and lending environment, and they always have tremendous advice for me. The second group is my mentors, my personal mentors. I have a West Coast mentor and an East Coast mentor. The West Coast mentor is a partner at a very prominent venture capital firm here in Silicon Valley. Mm-hmm. And my East Coast mentor is a retired general and former professor of business school at a very well-known military academy in the South. And one is the gas and the other is the brakes. And you can guess who's who if you want to put it together, who's the wild growth and who's the strategic thinker. And that balance has been very useful for confusing me and making my decisions.
That's good. You have some checks and balances in your life. I've also have a handful of mentors, and they have different perspectives, and I feel like that is very helpful.
Yeah, and if you have to find people that are very different than you, that's a good move for mentors. Is trying to find somebody that's not going to agree with everything, that's going to push back.
Actually, both of my mentors that I'm closest with are from New Jersey, which is, for someone who's born on the Pennsylvania border, the right side of the river, if you will.
Right.
It's very challenging.
Right. It's good.
All right. Question number 3 here. Last one. What inspires you?
What inspires? Wow, that's a loaded question. I feel like there's there's people to thank.
Yeah, you just take it wherever you want to take it.
You know what? It's this company, this business was born out of a personal professional need, and the desire to help people have a better experience at their job. So our customers are the inspiration. I would have been a customer if this existed 10 years ago. And I think that real estate professionals, they're all CEOs in a way. They have to be experts in marketing and sales and people management and negotiation and financial planning and budgeting. Mm-hmm. And they have the most interesting stories, and they're some of the most hardworking people in the whole world. They're awesome. So
It's a hard biz.
they're the core mission and the inspiration for myself personally and for our company.
Yeah. Very cool. Wes, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you taking aside the time to share about Propersum. Here we are on a Saturday. You could be out there doing, I don't know what you're allowed to do these days. Everything's still closed here.
Everything's illegal in California. That wasn't.
Hey, there you go.
illegal.
Everything's illegal. It's not that much different here in Chicago. But hey, for those who want to connect with you or learn more about Propersum, where do they go? How do they do that?
Yes. So you can find us online, propersum.com. You can also message me directly, Wes, W-E-S, at propersum.com. And I really invite everybody to go on and explore. If you are a regular TechNest listener, and you're a real estate agent or a property management company, we'll offer you a 60% discount for your first year.
Hey-o.
So
All right.
yeah, just mention TechNest in our contact form, and we'll sign you up.
I gotta stop talking crap on agents if I want to get more agents listening to the show.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
You want the good agents. You want the early adopters. You want the thinkers. You know.
I do not apologize for talking crap on mediocre
Right.
and status quo. I will not apologize for talking crap on.
It's
Wes,
fair.
it's been great. I appreciate it. Thanks for keeping me in the loop on progress of things. Obviously, keep me updated. Let's check back in. And once things clear up, come to Chicago. Let's hang, man.
I'm coming. You have to see my party boat that's floating around in the lake.
Let's make that happen. You could just tell me where it's parked and send me the keys. That's
it's
right.
being serviced by one of the Chicago Lake Party groups. Long story.
Okay.
We'll do that on the next. We'll do that on the next podcast.
We'll connect on that one. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye.
Well, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening to the TechNest podcast. Hey, don't forget you can get on the email list so you never miss an upcoming episode. That's technest.io. That's technest.io. Get on the email list. Go to the App Store, whether you found us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you found us. Leave us a 5-star review and share it with your friends. And if you've got a guest or someone that you'd like to recommend, or if you think that you'd be a great guest on the show, hey, send me an email, nate@realteampanda.com. That's nate@realteampanda.com. See you guys later.